And we're moving back, we're coming back here to Israel. The deadly July arson attack in the West Bank village of Duma continues to weigh heavily on Israeli society as information about the Jewish suspect being held in detention slowly surfaces. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu again condemned the act as terrorism. Today, I-24 News defense correspondent Shai Ben-Ari has more.
Israeli society continues to grapple with the consequences of one of the ugliest incidents in its recent history. The July burning of a Palestinian home in the West Bank village of Duma led to the deaths of 3 members of the Dawabshe family, including an 18-month-old infant. The Shin Bet, Israel's internal security service, is conducting an ongoing investigation into the case, with several Jewish suspects currently being held in connection to it.
The Shin Bet and all of its branches is doing very important work here. It is acting in accordance with the law, under judicial supervision. It is acting in accordance with government policy to fight terrorism of all kinds.
While many details relating to the ongoing investigation remain under a strict gag order, various claims have surfaced. Attorneys representing a number of the suspects say their clients have been subjected to torture.
One of the interrogators struck the detainee in a sensitive organ in a severe manner. Another changed the detainee's sitting position while he was still bound to a chair in a way that caused him to lose sensation in his limbs.
This video is one of several in which right-wing activists simulate what they believe is happening to the suspects in the Duma case. The Shin Bet has denied all accusations of sexual abuse, kicking, spitting, and electrocution in the context of the interrogations. The Shin Bet did say that the suspects being held belong to an illegal organization intent on carrying out future terror attacks, and that its members are being interrogated in accordance with appropriate professional and legal standards.
There is a huge difference between the healthy approach of Israeli society and Israeli democracy, which rules out terrorism, condemns terrorism, and acts against terrorism, in comparison with the Palestinian Authority, which unfortunately encourages terrorism and incites terrorism.
A press conference by family members of the detainees, scheduled for Sunday, was abruptly canceled. A spokesman for the family said they had a last-minute change of heart, but did not rule out government pressure as a possible reason.
And with me here in the studio is Amir Oren, defense and government analyst for Arts Daily newspaper. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining me.
Evening, Lucy.
Let's talk about the last remark of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, that there is a difference and we should differentiate between the Jewish terror and the Arab terror, or the Palestinian terror, if we can be more specific. And wasn't it the same Prime Minister that said terror is terror is terror, and we should look at terror as it is?
Well, you know, some 60 years ago, then Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion asked famous scientist Albert Einstein to become the president of the State of Israel. He declined. But it turns out that Einstein's theory of relativity is now being resuscitated by Prime Minister Netanyahu, because there is Palestinian terrorism.
It was really funny.
Now, you know, there is a certain section of Tel Aviv called Ramat Aviv Gimel, where there are several streets named for Jewish terrorists. For instance, Shlomo ben Yosef, the first terrorist who tried to bomb a bus in the Galilee, was caught by the British authorities and was then put to death. And there are several others who implemented other terror acts, assassinations and the like. So terrorism is a tool used by national liberation movements. When they become states, they no longer call it terrorism. Then it's state-condoned violence.
And maybe the one who actually gave a proper prime minister comment was actually Education Minister Naftali Bennett, that said that a terror and violence should be looked at as it is, if it's coming, even if it's coming from the Jewish side or if it's coming from the Arab side.
It's really strange. Of course, one can find political motives for what Netanyahu said. But it's really strange because the Shin Bet security agency, in order to act against these cells or networks, must base its action on some premise, be it subversion. Now they say that it's an underground whose aim is to subvert the government, bring about a chaotic situation, and then a coup d'etat, and then we will have a king here, as if we don't already. Or, if not a subversion, it must be terrorism or some other security offense. And now comes Netanyahu and says that there's no comparison, quantity-wise or quality-wise, because, as he says, the government of Israel condemns it and the Palestinian Authority does not. But you know, in Kiryat Arba, they have a memorial for Baruch Goldstein, and the Israeli government does nothing to take it down.
You know, I'm trying to understand, because for what we're understanding from the Wabshe family's investigation, it is in progress, but what we reported just weeks ago is that two of the people who were accused of the killing of Mohammed Abu Khadir were released from custody or were not charged because of, let's say, mental problems. And again, the question that is arising is if they're different. Is there any difference between the law that is being implemented on Palestinians and the law that is being implemented on Jewish people in Israel?
Well, you know that there's a gag order regarding the Duma crime, and until we can speak about it freely, we can only speak in generalities. But obviously, the Duma crime was a homicide. People were killed. Now, is it what you would call first-degree murder, premeditated murder? Did the perpetrators go to Duma and plan to kill people, or did they try to arson only an empty home, the way they thought it was empty because it was darkened? Now, these are legalities, legal niceties, but they could mean the difference between murder and manslaughter.
Yes. Amir Oren, thank you very much. Of course, in the upcoming days, we will know much more about what is happening. But thank you very much for now. We're staying in Israel. Two more stabbing attacks in Israel and the Palestinian territories today. This morning, a 30-year-old Israeli Arab stabbed and moderately wounded an IDF soldier near the central bus station in Jerusalem before being overpowered by security forces. Hours later, two terrorists carried out a stabbing attack in the Nablus area of the West Bank, wounding two IDF soldiers. The perpetrators were shot and killed on the scene.